we got Nick and himself.
Very solid.
We're here ready to give you some interesting takes, tell you what's going on around the world in the world of football. Um, me and Nick, we both got our coffee this morning. One of us had a late night. I'll let you be the judge of who that is. It's probably the guy with the hair that looks a little sloppy,
It might be both of us, to
but
be honest. It,
mm,
it might be both of us.
might be both of us. So, but guys, very excited. Got another episode for you today. Some beautiful things, interesting things happening around the league. Just storylines, Nick, that I've been watching, keeping my eye on. And one thing I did see yesterday, our boy Pat McAfee, he responded to it, but he saw that an ESPN analyst said that Matt Ryan has 2 to 3 years left of winning football. How do we feel about that? Because we touched on Julio Jones the other day, and if Julio Jones stays with the Falcons, I don't. I think that statement is correct. I think if Julio Jones happens to leave the Falcons, I think Matt Ryan may want to shake up his scenery a little bit. And then in that case, he might have 2 to 3 years left of winning football. But I don't know if he's got 2 or 3 years left of winning football for the Falcons.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the biggest emphasis. I think if you, I believe it was Dan Orlovsky that said that.
Uh,
So
you mean Dane?
big old Dan Orlovsky. So yeah, I agree with you. I think if they were to trade him, which I know has been something that was kind of discussed at the Julio Jones time. Now I don't know how
Yeah,
seriously that's been discussed. Obviously,
for sure.
I'm not an NFL insider or anything, but they have talked about that being a possibility. I did see that somewhere. So I agree with you. I think if he's on another team, maybe he's got 2 or 3 years of winning football left. I don't see it at all on the Falcons. There's no way.
Yeah,
There is absolutely
yeah,
no way.
and
Even with Julio Jones, I mean, let's be honest about the division that the Falcons play in. The Carolina Panthers are a up and coming young team. They are not an
yep,
easy out, even if we said that they are the fourth best team in the division. Then the Falcons would be the third best team. And I mean, realistically, the Saints with Jameis Winston, you got to remember, Jameis Winston is coming off a year or 2 years ago where I think he led the NFL in yards or something crazy like that. No, he also led the NFL in interceptions, but he got LASIK,
yeah,
got his LASIK. So like, I think he's a good quarterback, to be honest. And the team around him in New Orleans is very good. And then you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's just in the Falcons division. I just don't
yeah,
see it. I don't see it. Now, if Matt Ryan goes somewhere else, maybe sort of at the end of his career here, a la Phillip Rivers last year, going to the
mm,
Colts. Colts had a hell of a season last year. We're a damn good
yep,
team. I could see something like that working out for sure. But
yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious. Nothing's coming to the top of my head. I'm curious if you can think of a team. I don't know exactly what the team would be that he could go to, that where he'd be able to step in right away and just play. A team that has kind of an
Yeah.
opening, but that's what I
Mm.
see from him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough question. But Matt Ryan, he's had an interesting career because he's been a great quarterback. It's not like he, has had a suspect career, but like he's been to the big game. So he has played good football. But I think, and hopefully we are wrong that he does have 2 to 3 years of great football left in him,
Definitely,
and
definitely.
because that's good for the NFL and good for the Falcons and fandom as a whole. But if I'm being honest with myself, which is the most important thing, I just don't see it happening in Atlanta, just like you. But
Yep.
speaking of Atlanta,
Oh, okay. The ATL.
this is this is something you never want to have happen, but you never want to be an NFL prospect and get catfished.
Ah,
Like that's no. And also, if you're a person calling up these NFL draft prospects and you are catfishing them, at least get a TikTok of it so like you have it documented. Then it's like a funny thing. But you just messing with this dude's life. And I'm talking about I think it's I'm gonna butcher this name, but his last name's Brian. Um,
I think it's Wantavius.
Wantarius.
Wantarius. Yep.
Okay. So Wantarius from Austin P. I don't even know if that's how you say that. Peay.
Yeah, Austin P.
Hey.
Yep. That's out there. Yep.
Austin
Yep.
P. Yeah, right
That's out
out
there in
there
the
in Austin P.
Midwest. It's a Midwest university.
For sure. Absolutely. But so interesting story with this guy is he actually got a call from the Falcons for a tryout, or so he thought, because it was a Falcons number, area code, or Atlanta area code, and apparently pulling his team, which little upsetting to hear. But good news for Wantarius is that he is actually getting a tryout. He's having a couple teams. They're going to come watch
I
him.
love it.
So, you have something, a minor setback for a major comeback type of moment there for Wontarius. And you know what? Hopefully he gets on a team. Hopefully he balls out. And hopefully I could select him number 1 overall in my fantasy football draft this year.
Yep.
So I'm rooting for the guy.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I think with the situation like that, man, it's wild. Like, think about, like, if he's like, my thought first when I saw it was, it's got to be someone that, like, knows him, that has a vendetta out against him. Because, like, otherwise, like, that's the weirdest prank of all time. Like, who's pulling that prank? Like, that's an odd, like, randomly, you're just going to pick some random dude from a random school, a random NFL. There's just no way.
Sure.
There's just no way. This seems like a definite case of foul play, probably by someone that he knows in his personal life. It's got to be, right? But it reminds me, man. It reminds me of the Manti Te'o situation. Different type of catfishery there, but
for sure.
It's these NFL players every now and then they get got. But look, everybody gets got,
sure.
right? You're gonna get got. That's the way life goes, man. It's cool.
You just want to get got less than you do the gotten,
That's all it is, right? It's
or the getting, however.
It's cool, but yeah, he and I thought it was cool. He came out and actually said, like, the kid like came out and said, like, hey, like, this is what happened to me. Like, I wanted to get this off my chest. Like, he didn't even have to do that,
sure.
but he wanted to kind of handle it in that way. And I thought that was kind of cool, man. Like, to be vulnerable like that and tell people, like, yo, this is, like, not okay that this happened to me, but this is what happened. Like, maybe I can tell someone and they can prevent them from being in this situation in the future. But
absolutely
wild, man.
But I will say this, Nick. Out of Wontarius and Manti, who would you rather be catfished? Which situation would you rather be in?
Wontarius every time, all day.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
For sure. That's like, because like, yeah. I guess it would be different if like Manti Te'o's girlfriend was actually real and like, but she was just pretending she was fake, and then she like came around eventually. Because that's like what happened with his tryout here, So
also, Austin P Austin P didn't just get blasted by like 40 in the national championship game too. He's not stringing together the rough couple months that Manti Te'o did. To be honest,
that is true. Manti Te'o, he did go through it there for like at least 2 to 3 months there.
He did.
It was just with the old traditional media that was in place. But now if that would happen to Manti Te'o today, it probably would have been a news story for 2 or 3 days and then gone.
They would have put him on the Impulsive podcast. He would have been like, he would have got famous for it. Like, it probably would have worked out better for him. But and a hell of a player too. Manti Te'o was a good player.
Yeah, he probably would have been a better player if that happened to him today, because it's just like the publicity. He's like, okay, it's like, this is wrong. This person's fucked up. It's not me. Not anything to do with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I guess long story short, don't catfish people. But if you're thinking you're getting catfish, call our guys over at that MTV network, Neve and his buddy, and they'll check you out to make sure everything's right. In case there's a missing person or something like that. But who's not going to be missing?
Who is not going to
from the Cowboys OTAs this year?
Oh man, the man himself.
The man himself. Dak Prescott. Yeah, that's right.
Love it.
He is. He's reporting to OTAs. Says he's got a message for his rookie wide receivers. And you know what that message is, Nick?
I'm a little nervous. What is it?
It's catch the ball. No, I'm kidding. It's he thinks they're about to light the league up, and he wants these young guys to have that vibe around them when he's throwing them the ball that we're going to light the league up. And to be honest, with him being out last year, I can see Dak Prescott coming back with a little bit of a vendetta, a vengeance, a playing style that is a little higher than what we're normally accustomed from Dak. So, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm a little excited about that. Now, you still got Big Mike down there.
Big Mike.
You got to work through that a little bit. But, yeah, I think that'll be exciting for the Cowboys.
No doubt. I mean, I think the trickiest part with that situation is you got him telling his wide receivers, like, hey, we're going to light things up. And it's like, well, I mean, in Big Mike's offense, the receivers are not always exactly the main focal point, especially in the lighting it up department. Big Mike likes to kind of keep that ball kind of right near the line of scrimmage, typically in his passing game. If you remember from his years that we we watched him. Now, granted though, Big Mike won a Super Bowl, in fairness, and is a good
Yep.
coach. We saw him, in his garage or whatever when he was out of football for that year, just just studying as much
Yeah.
film as he could
Yeah, for
study
sure.
and using that big old brain of his. So, I think him and Dak, like, hopefully we get to see him for a full year. I'm glad the Cowboys paid Dak. I'm glad they did the right thing there. Jerry Jones, still not a huge Jerry Jones fan, but I think I've started to come around a little more on him. I think seeing him on his ridiculous yacht and at the draft, and then he paid Dak, and he kept him around.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Some of these things, Jerry Jones in his older age is becoming a bit more of a character to me. And every now and then you got to have those sort of, I'm going to call them like WWE type personalities in the NFL. You don't need a ton of them, but Jerry Jones certainly one of them. So. Yeah, man.
You need your Vince McMahon,
Yep,
that.
Absolutely.
Just eccentric type of guy. But I will say this: do we see is Dak Prescott going to be the league leader in audibles this year, like audibling out of run calls, just so he can light up the league with his receivers?
I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing with Big Mike's offense, right? Is if he lets Dak control it a little bit, I think you could see some good things. It's interesting because I do think, in a weird way, I don't know if this gets talked about a lot, I feel like Dak Prescott has a lot of the same type of mobility as an Aaron Rodgers, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
This guy isn't necessarily like just running all over the field. Nobody thinks he's Lamar Jackson, but he has escapability. He can move around in the pocket. He can extend a play. And I am curious to see how he looks this year, because last year he was looking good. I mean, and the Cowboys have on paper, they have a team that should walk through that division very easily. They should just roll through that division, come right into the playoffs, be like 11-5, something like that. That's it. That's what they should be every year. And yet, you feel that way about them. You go put a bet on them week 1. Not a lot of people want to do that, right? Because you just don't know with these guys. So
yeah, for sure.
Hopefully with Dak, man, they get turned around. I like watching them. I like watching Big Mike, all of them down there, man. I think like they're entertaining as hell.
For sure. Sorry about that, Nick. I just got a text from my doctor that I know, and I just this in, but it's Dr. Neil.
Dr. Neil.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think he's also Joe Burrow's doctor as well.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And yeah, he actually just texted me, gave me an update. Okay. But guys, just to let you know, Joey Burrow's back week 1.
Whoa, I love
it. I know.
I know. Man, I love it.
Yeah, I've been hounding him for weeks to give me this information, and he finally got back to me. But I see he texted back some other people before me, and the news leaked. So sorry we didn't get to break it for you. But yeah, we're going to talk about it. Hey, Joe Burrows, Cincinnati Bengals, you get that kid some help, which it looks like they did at the receiver position, a familiar face. I mean, if he could stay up on his 2 feet, he's going to make some plays this year.
Yes, he absolutely will.
I think he is probably going to be one of the most electric players at the quarterback position, which is saying a lot, because as of right now, we have a ton of people at the quarterback position that is electric to watch. Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Patty Mahomes, those types. And I think this guy's just going to fit right into that category and really ball out for the Bengals. So if I'm a Bengals fan, I'm getting really excited about that, that he's going to be back. I'm probably getting a Joey Burrows jersey, show a little support.
Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, it's going to be – I think it's going to be a fun ride for the Bengals this year, which I think they're due for it. They saw the success that the other Ohio teams were having. They're like, hey, hang on a minute. We want to hop on this bandwagon. We can't let Cleveland outdo us. So with that, the beautiful thing is Cincinnati's become some ballers, and Ohio might be good for football.
Yeah, for sure. I think Joe Burrow's a super fascinating guy, and I think if he had stayed healthy last year, people would feel great about him, because he was playing well until he got hurt. And Joe Burrow is one of these guys where now you get him, like you talked about, you get him Jamar Chase, who is with him at LSU, and so now he feels like he's got a weapon he's familiar with. I think it's awesome. He's like got that hometown thing, right? He's from a couple hours outside Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Like, he's just an awesome storyline. Now, that division is absolutely brutal. We talked about that the other day. That division is absolutely brutal, but I'll be honest. Let's look at just Joe Burrow for a second. My argument is, being in the division that's that tough early in his career, if they can keep him healthy, he gets 6 opportunities every season where he's playing high-level teams. Like, because of that, I think the Bengals get some primetime games that maybe they shouldn't. And he gets a
Yep.
chance to have some of those games like early in his career that you see with some of these guys where he plays really well. Like, what if he does knock off the Browns in Cleveland? What if he does,
Yep.
beat the Steelers? Like, he can start to build a little bit of a resume around himself the next year or two when, honestly, I don't think the Bengals are going to be super competitive, but they get to play
Yeah.
those games like against these good teams. He gets to match up with Lamar Jackson, Big Ben,
Yep.
and Baker Mayfield 6 times
Yeah.
a year. I mean, it's awesome. Like, so he's got a lot of I feel like advantages in growing his persona and all of that stuff. Even being in a small market like Cincinnati. So I'm very excited to watch him play this year. I think that's going to be awesome, and it's cool to see. Like, I think he got hurt in November. So that's a quick turnaround from that injury, like for him to be already like they're like, hey, look, he's good to go.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. Dr. Neal
Yep.
did it right. I think if your knee gets fucked up, maybe you go look up Dr. Neal in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah, or just hit me up. I got his number, like I said. So he just texted me. I could get you a consultation, probably 20% off too. So just keep that in your back pocket. Keep that in your back pocket. But Nick, I will say this before we wrap up the show here. What talked a lot about OTAs and players showing up, stuff like that. Players trying to not revitalize, but like reaffirm their career. That they can play football, stuff like that. Players trying to get careers, with Wontarius, Bryant, and stuff like that. What's your big what are you most excited for coming into the training camp? What do you think's a storyline that you want to see or you want to watch or something to keep your eyes out for?
So I'll give you two. The first one is I'm very interested to see how the Bears quarterback situation plays out. I think they've said Andy Dalton is going to get those first team reps. I am curious to see how he is covered in the Chicago media. And obviously, I'll be back with you in Chicago tonight. I'm gonna hop on the plane. I'll see you tonight. Very excited about that, by the way. We're gonna have a nice little time. But I am curious to see how the Chicago media covers that because I do think that
they've messed it up in the past.
I can imagine Justin Fields gets covered very positively all training camp, and that competition just becomes more and more intense. And I don't know that that's good for them, but I'm curious to see how that goes. That's number one, because I think that's by far the most fascinating quarterback situation in the NFL. I shouldn't say by far, though, because then the second storyline that I'm the most interested in seeing throughout training camp is also another quarterback. I wouldn't say so much a competition because I do think Cam Newton will be the starter for the Patriots, but I'm interested to see the Cam Newton-Mac Jones thing play out. I think the Justin Fields-Andy Dalton situation is far more interesting because I think that's more of a competition. However, I think the New England Patriots having both of those guys in the building, that's going to be fascinating as well. And to be honest, I think you'll see a good amount of Mac Jones in the preseason and stuff like that. So those are kind of the two. I'm looking at those two kind of quarterback situations because I think, to be honest, those two quarterback situations are potentially going to shape the NFL in the future. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, at least. Those are kind of the two things I'm the most excited about training camp wise. But what are you? I'm curious where you're at as far as training camp goes.
Training camp, I'm just, I'm looking for the storyline of Aaron Rodgers is happy as piss. And, him and Brian Gutekunst, they actually went out and had drinks. Beautiful. And then they were seen all over town.
Just palling around.
Having just a grand old time, two college buddies getting together. Some guy coming into Chicago and his buddy picking him up from the airport and they just rip it,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the storyline that probably won't get talked about as much this offseason, but I think it's the one that we need to hear because I think it's just good for football when the Packers know Aaron Rodgers is just happy.
Yeah, I couldn't
agree. But the rest of the NFL would probably not like that because everyone wants Aaron Rodgers on their team because he's the GOAT for sure. Yep. But I digress. That was a little fandom in me coming out. But besides that, I think you're very right, Nick, with the quarterback controversy in Chicago. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out because, like I said, if they can figure out their quarterback situation and have that third market really become a big market, then that third big city market, then I think, that would be great. But, we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, for sure.
But, yeah, I mean, other than that, I'm going to be following Wontarius a little bit. See if
That's your guy now. I like it.
He's my
I
guy
like
now,
it.
like because that's like my vibe. Is like this dude's out here chasing his dream. Like, yeah, you're gonna get a little adversity. You're gonna get people who don't understand try to poke fun,
Of
poke
course.
holes in it.
Of course.
But yeah, if this dude can get on a team, and this is the other thing I will say. I have not watched a lick of tape on this guy, so
Do you?
he could be bad,
Sure.
but I'm rooting for him all the way.
That's true.
I'm rooting for him, and I think he'll be a star in the league. And you heard it here first. And Wontarius, if you see this, my guy, give me a call. Let us know. We'll get you on the show.
Yes.
We want to know about your situation. We want to talk to you. You're our guy. We're in your corner. For sure.
Wontarius. What a guy.
Wontarius.
Love him. Let me
Man,
get this
could you
jersey.
imagine? Could you imagine if we were just saying his name wrong the whole time? We were like,
that'd
we
be
send this
fucked
to him. It would be bad.
If
But
we are, we apologize. It's not in a. No,
we're
that's definitely right. Wontarius. We're not
Yeah.
linguists.
Oh.
You're right.
no, and we're not financial advisors.
Never.
We do get that time to time. So
Never.
take that as you will. But hey, Monday Evening Football Daily Show. It's been a blast. We'll see you knuckleheads the same time tomorrow. I'm just kidding. That's a Michael Wilbon thing. We'll see you jabronis the same time tomorrow.
Take care, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.